What is going on, my friends? Bruce Lund, founder of the Solopreneur Movement podcast. This is a podcast for all you individual hustlers out there who are solely in charge of your business growth. This includes sales, operations, marketing, mindset. I have one very basic belief in life: trained people always outperform untrained people. I also believe that in today's world, as individual entrepreneurs, that it is more complex than ever before. It's more confusing than ever before. And most of us need to get back to the basics of our business. And so this Solopreneur podcast is a movement. It's a community of like-minded people just like you who are out there hustling to grow their business. And so I want to have a podcast that brings together relevant content every single week to get you thinking bigger, to give you more clarity, to reduce or eliminate confusion. And so this week's topic, I really believe will help you do that when it comes to your mindset. I don't know about you, if you're like me, I love documentaries. I like to nerd out on documentaries. And this past weekend, I was watching a documentary called Iron Cowboy on Netflix, and it got me thinking about how to handle criticism, how to handle haters, even when you're trying to do good things. How can you be transformational in a transactional world? So if you have a chance, go watch the Iron Cowboy on Netflix. And here's what it's about. So James Lawrence is an Ironman competitor, and back in 2012, he did 30 Ironman marathons in 1 year. He did 11 different countries in 1 year, and that actually set a record. It broke a Guinness Book of World Records, and he didn't even know it at the time. He just was doing all these crazy things out there. And then he came up with an idea a couple years later, because as you know, any competitor, we're all driven. It's always like, what's next? We got to do something bigger. We got to do something better. And so he came up with this crazy idea. He loves spending time on his bike. That's his favorite place. That's his creative place. And so one day he was biking, he was cycling, and he came up with this idea: 50 marathons in 50 days. And then he came up with a bigger idea: 50 marathons in 50 days in 50 different states. And so for those of you who don't know what an Ironman is, it's where you do 2.4 miles of swimming, you do 112 miles of cycling, and you do 26.2 miles of running, all in one day, all in one sitting. That's crazy to think about. And so this feat, if you really think about it, 50-50-50, to do all of that and be in an RV and travel with your family, I mean, it's one of the most remarkable physical things that a human being could possibly do. And so he was actually sleeping 4.5 hours a day. And so this is why he did that, is he wanted to create money. He wanted to generate money for charity. But he had so many different obstacles along the way of this process, and they actually document all that. So he fell off his bike in Tennessee. He fell asleep on his bike. He had to deal with hurricanes down in the south, down in Louisiana. He got behind schedule, so therefore he actually had to double up one day. And basically, just to get back on schedule, I had to sleep like 3 hours and get out there right away that next day. So if you think about that, man, it's remarkable, the mindset, the perseverance, the resilience. But here's what was astonishing to me in this whole process, is at first people were supporting was supporting him, the cause. He had a Facebook group. They're on there like, hey, man, we're going to be there every step of the way. But throughout the process, he did some things that were questionable or which were controversial. And so he actually he had an IV in his arm. So you actually see him cycling on a bike one day, and he has an IV in his arm giving himself fluids because it was during the hurricane season, and he was actually inside doing things. And so people immediately started jumping to conclusions he's taking PEDs, right? There was one time his trainer actually told him to do the elliptical versus get on the treadmill. Normally he would run outside, but again, during the storms he got on an elliptical versus going on a treadmill. And so people are like, well, that's not fair. That's not the same thing. But to me, it was remarkable how many people hated on him. People were actually hating on him for going out and doing this thing that nobody could ever possibly think about doing. And so it taught me some different lessons, man. Unfortunately, we live in a transactional world. We live in a world where people would rather tear each other down versus build people up. And again, I say people, like a small group of people would rather do this. And for us as producers, for us as solopreneurs, it's easy for us to focus on the negative. It's easy for us to get bogged down. For every 9 positives, you might get 1 negative. And what do we focus on a lot of the time? We focus on that 1 negative. And so James, it was the same thing for him. He started getting all this backlash on social media. People started to attack his family. People started to attack his his ethics, right? All these different kinds of things, his integrity. And so, he almost let this derail him. There was one trip to where he was on his bike and he got off his bike and he just had a breakdown, man. He had a mental breakdown. And I tell people a lot of times you have to have a breakdown to have a breakthrough. But he almost let this breakdown just completely cost him this thing. But that breakdown did help him with a breakthrough. And it helped him realize this. It helped him get back to why he was doing it, the charity, his family, the fact that he enjoyed competing and pushing himself. So he almost let all this negative energy derail this one thing for him. And so just think about that. We do that a lot in our own lives. We do that a lot with our own businesses, right? So when we get negative criticism, move in the opposite direction of the negative pull. So that's the takeaways for me. A lot of times we got to have a breakdown before we can have a breakthrough. But do good anyways. One of my favorite poems is by Mother Teresa. And that's where this immediately made me think about that. How to be transformational in a transactional world. And unfortunately, I have this a lot in the coaching business. So for me in the coaching business, a lot of times people will say, like, I hired you to give me accountability and now you're giving me too much accountability. Or I hired you to give me accountability, you're not giving me enough accountability. And so it's like it's a lose-lose situation for me as a coach. And so I used to let that really impact me in a negative way. And now I just do good anyways. When I know I'm out there to help people and impact people and have fun doing what I'm doing. And so this documentary, I immediately thought about Mother Teresa's poem, Do Good Anyway. So if you've never heard the poem, I'm going to read it to you here. People are often unreasonable and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of ulterior motives. Be kind anyways. If you are successful, you will win false friends and true enemies. Succeed anyway. If you are honest, people may cheat you. Be honest anyways. What you spend years building, someone can destroy overnight. Build anyway. If you find happiness, they will be jealous. Be happy anyways. The good you do today can be forgotten by tomorrow. Do good anyways. Give the world the best you got, and it may not be enough. Give your best anyways. And the final analysis, what you'll realize, it was never between you and them anyway. Guys, that poem always gets me. It gets me at my core. And so on days when maybe I'm getting criticism, maybe things aren't going the way that I hope they would, maybe when other people are trying to tear me down, I do good anyways. I got to be transformational in a transactional world. I have to move in the opposite direction of the negative pull. When it's easy to go negative, I gotta train myself to go positive, right? I got to have a strong support group. You got to have a strong support group of people that are your biggest cheerleaders. Who are your big advocates? Who are your big promoters? You've heard the term, you become the sum total of those you hang around the most, right? Go where you're celebrated, not merely tolerated. And it was the same way for James and this Iron Cowboy, is he had his family, he had his kids there. His daughter was an accountability partner for him to get up. He would run the 5K with her every single morning. She committed to doing that. His mom actually came out and would start running with them, right? So it was the same lesson for him, though. He had this support group of people that loved him and supported him, and it literally at some points carried him across the finish line on a daily basis. But it's easy to focus on the haters. It's easy to focus on the transactional people that you can never make happy in this process. So my conclusion for us in today's podcast, just like James almost let the negativity of social media, guys, social media can be nasty, man. Social media is one heck of a tool to go out there and get in front of the right people and attract the right people and live your life out loud. But it will also attract haters and doubters and criticism. Anytime you try to do something big in this world, you're going to attract some of the wrong people. And that's just the reality of it. Focus on the people who love on you, and you love on them. Okay? So that's one of the biggest takeaways that I had when it comes to this. Sometimes you got to have a breakdown to have a breakthrough, to get you to recommit to your bigger future. So I actually sat down after this, and I went all the way back into basically 2.5, 3 years ago when I launched 90-day sales, and just like, why did I create all this? I wanted to have fun in my business. I wanted to impact people all over the world. I always want to be true and genuine to myself. And so it made me kind of tap back into my core values and the culture of the company that I want to build. I hope it's the same way for you. And so, just like the last part of all of this, guys, at the end of the day, focus on the 80% of people. Give 80% of your time to the 20% who deserve it. Give it to your homies. Give it to your advocates. Because at the end of the day, it's never between you and these other people anyways. The people that are going to doubt you, hate on you, the transactional. Be transformational in a transactional world. So I hope this podcast helps you with the mindset. Helps you with the mindset of what it takes every single day to build, maintain, protect your confidence. Until next week.